The animation opens up in an intense situation, where we see a young girl named Eiko hiding in fear from a scary-looking man in what appears to be an underground bunker. During this, a noise was heard and the man quickly released fire and killing another individual hiding. Now that the killer is done with everyone else, the girl ran out of her hiding hole and began to shoot at him. As he gets closer, she explodes a bomb that burns away part of his face, revealing a Terminator. Although this was to no avail, as it seems the man is indestructible after receiving multiple gunshots. Facing an indestructible enemy, the young girl's only option is to run, because in this fight, survival is the real victory. However, not for long, as the Terminator got to meet her in a bridge, but in a slick way, she jumped over as he shoots at her as she tried to escape. The two began struggling with each other, but this ended with the young girl stabbing a chip into the Terminator's eyes, making his whole system to reboot and fall off. The scene then shifted to 1997, where we get to see a young-looking man named Malcolm having a conversation with his son's design. He tells his son, Kenta, that he reminds him of when he was little, but his son explained to him that he's still trying to figure out how it works. Although he educated his son on how knowledge is power, and if one understands something, it can never truly control you. Malcolm tells Kenta about him leaving for his office, but his little boy isn't happy with this because it is on a weekend. He explained to his son how urgent the matter is and how he is needed at the office. In the evening, we get to see a young lady named Misaki in a supermarket. While she was shopping, she heard a noise and she decided to check it out, but was shocked by what she saw, a robot. Immediately, one of the attendants arrived and apologized to the lady while also introducing the robot to her. He was then found out that the robot is faulty, so he planned fixing it. Meanwhile, Kenta and his little brothers began to play, but just then Misaki then came in. Kenta's father informed the lady he won't be back until 2 days' time, but this really hurt his little kid as he told his father that the next day would be their mom's birthday. Malcolm then promised his daughter, Reika, to take them to the park some other day. His daughter then furiously pushed his hands away and left. However, before he left, he ordered Kenta to get his project design out of the house. On his way, you get to see a robot staring at him in a weird way. Malcolm finally gets to his company, where he is informed about some energy that surges in the middle of the night, but nothing to be concerned about. Malcolm then gets into a room where only he can enter and head inside. Inside the room, we get to see the destruction of a city which had previously. Malcolm tells his artificial intelligence how afraid he was that something like that could happen soon again. He went on to inform his artificial intelligence, Kokoro, that if he were to bring it online before tomorrow ends, then he believes that it could have the powers to change the world's fate. However, Malcolm then proceeded with the business of the day by using a key on Kokoro. Meanwhile, in 2022, we see some individuals in the woods with a sniper as we see the girl from the opening scene. She went into the basement and delivered the tools she used in defeating the Terminator to an old woman. The old woman then gave a speech on how many had lost their lives to get this vital data to them and swore that their sacrifice shall not be in vain. Meanwhile, the Terminators still hunt for the girl who had escaped his wrath. Back to Malcolm, he has now created thousands of his own high artificial intelligence Terminators. During this, we get to see how the robot get manufactured and assigned to different countries for a secret mission through time travel and teleportation. The next day, some scientists began to hack into the data feed of Skynet time machine, which was successful. Immediately, Eiko prepared herself to travel using the time machine in order to stop the Terminator and Malcolm plants. Meanwhile, outside their building, the Terminator has arrived and began to eliminate those on his way, trying to stop him in the most diabolical manner. Eiko yells in pains after witnessing the death of her loved ones in the hands of the Terminator, before finally teleporting using the machine. Eiko teleports to August 29, 1997 as shown in a newspaper. She clothed herself and continued her journey. Meanwhile, we see Misaki preparing meal for Malcolm kids but got cut due to lack of concentration. She got to treat herself, while Kenta breaks into his sister's room only to find out that she had escaped from their home. Kenta and his other brother then left to find their younger sister Reika without letting Misaki know. Meanwhile, Malcolm is still communicating with his eyes. He says, by the end of tomorrow, Skynet would come online, and it will instantly become self-aware and assess humanity as an existential threat to its well-being. However, in an act of self-preservation, it will enact nuclear strikes from military bases in the United States and Russia. He went further saying Skynet will put humanity against itself and let humans tear themselves apart. After a long discussion, Kokoro then informed Malcolm that the world will be better off without mankind, as humans has always caused its own destruction through war throughout the history of mankind, as our economic systems are used as weapons of oppression, but this would end soon as Malcolm has now used his science to build one of the most destructive weapons that the law of physics will allow. Malcolm get interrupted by a call from his house help Misaki about his children missing. He furiously shouted at Misaki while also telling her that the children are the most important thing dear to him, so they need to find them as he is running out of time. Meanwhile, Eiko is now at Malcolm's facility and immediately follows Malcolm in a van. At the train station, Reika ran and hid inside an abandoned room, but just then her pet cat ran out of her hand, so Reika began to chase after it. She found her cat, but then heard a loud noise. This made Reika go into hiding. Fortunately for her, it was just her little siblings who walked toward her. They told her they came to rescue her, but yet again, her cat ran out of her hands and they all ran into the room further. Meanwhile, Malcolm is now with Misaki, but in a traffic. Malcolm isn't happy with what Misaki had done by neglecting his kids, but she informed him that Reika was sad because of the discussion he had earlier with her before leaving the house, and how she misses her mother. Unfortunately for them, during her conversation as Malcolm drives, he then mistakenly hit a road safety guy, leading to an accident. But this was not an ordinary road safety guy, but the Terminator, as he began brutally hurting Malcolm. Immediately, Malcolm finds his way out of his vehicle. The Terminator then dispatches 2 cops while heading straight toward Malcolm. Some other cop arrived at the scene but met same fate as the previous cop. Luckily for Malcolm, Eiko arrived also while using to hit the Terminator away from him. Malcolm immediately ran straight to Misaki, telling her that some individuals have sent this Terminators to stop him, which means his research is right and his plans worked, but now they're going to try use his children against him. So he have to go back to Kokoro, as he need to finish up whatever he was doing, so she need to find the children. Eiko immediately went to ask Misaki the whereabouts of Malcolm, but Misaki ran instead to a cop, but this could not stop Eiko as she knocked him out. Eiko eventually caught Misaki and asked her again where Malcolm is, but Misaki asked her why and what she was going to do with Malcolm. So Eiko vows to do everything in her powers to stop the Terminator, as he won't be stopped so easily. She then proceeded to ask for Malcolm whereabouts, as the Terminator will soon get to his lab, and she has been sent to protect scientist Malcolm Lee and his family as he works to launch a new AI that could compete with Skynet. Eiko asked where his kid were, as they also need protection. Back to Malcolm Kid, they walked deeper into the underground room as they found certain things. However, Reika found her cat, but Kenna then went into a room where he found hundreds of robots. The scene then shifted to the Terminator from earlier as he survived the fall. He went into a building and began to upgrade himself with more deadly weapons. Then he immediately went to Malcolm's home. Inside, he scanned for important information he could use. Meanwhile, Misaki took Eiko to a building, hoping to find Malcolm Kids, although at gunpoint. Eiko, who is seriously injured from the incident, then fall to the ground due to loss of blood. Misaki then helped out by treating Eiko's injury, while they both discussed about how Malcolm has no idea on what is building, as Malcolm is creating another machine that will get every human killed, but Misaki still isn't convinced that Malcolm would do such. Meanwhile, Misaki told Eiko about an accident that happened in Japan 2 years ago, and how it nearly wiped out a whole city. Eiko then told her that is just the tip of the iceberg, if only she knew what is coming. Back to Malcolm, he proceeded to find a way to finish up his artificial intelligence. At the underground, Kenna, knowing little about science and technology, began to see if he could work on a robot he found, which worked. While Reika and her other brother discuss about how they feel about their father trying to forget their mother. Just then, Reika's cat began to malfunction, so she ordered her brother to go call Kenna to check what is wrong with her pet. This gave the cat an opportunity to run away, making Reika chase after it again. Kenna get informed about Reika's pet misbehaving. Meanwhile, Reika has now wandered deep into the underground while looking for her pet. A loud buzzing sound could be heard just then. A man enters where Reika was and began to question her. This made Reika very scared. Not so long, and the man began to attack her. Reika ran out immediately, while the Terminator chases after her. Nearby, Kenta and his younger brother is screaming loud for Reika, trying to figure out where she went to, but just then, they got ambushed and attacked. Fortunately for them, Eiko arrived where they were and saved them. This act made a fight ensues between the both individuals, giving Misaki and the kid an opportunity to escape while they get chased by the Terminator. Eiko finds the Terminator again, and the two continue their battle, but with Eiko getting seriously beaten. Luckily for her, she found a way to defeat it by pushing it off the elevator. On their way, Eiko is stopped by the cop, but she knocked him out and took the vehicle. Eiko immediately saw the Terminator approaching them, so drove away really fast. Unfortunately for Eiko and Reika, they got into a car chase by the police. Misaki and Malcolm kids are now at the station to give a report where they met Detective Shiraki. They told a cop that nowhere is safe. However, they kept on questioning her regarding Eiko, the lady who saved them. Misaki does not like this, and went along to tell the detective that the one who attacked them isn't human. Meanwhile, Eiko is still on a serious car chase with the cops, as they tried everything in their powers to stop her vehicle. She and Reika then ran into an office. At the station, Detective Shiraki goes to meet Kenda, trying to figure out where his father is, but he informed him that he should be in his office. They also told him that Misaki lives with them to help out while their dad is at work, and she is like a nanny. Meanwhile, they informed Misaki that while she was in the interrogation room, they did some background check on her identity but couldn't find out anything about her. No education records nor driver's license under her name, and now she will need to explain why she is a ghost. Meanwhile, the Terminator got into police headquarters in disguise, while also eliminating anyone he come across. With a large noise heard in the interrogation room, Misaki immediately knew it was the Terminator doing, so she informed them that he is here. Immediately, Detective Shiraki ran to go check it out only to find everyone dead. During a chase by the Terminator, Detective Shiraki gets seriously injured. He went straight for the kid, but fortunately for them, Misaki came to their rescue, leading to a struggle between the two which ended up with the Terminator tearing up her arm. This exposes the fact that Misaki is a robot. However, Misaki finds a way to escape with a vehicle and keeping the children safe. At the tech headquarters, Malcolm got a call from his assistant informing him that a call just came for him, and it is important as it was his daughter Reika on the phone. Malcolm then said he can't help Reika right now as she is going to save herself on her own. Reika informed Eiko that her father isn't responding. The two then had a conversation on how her father always tell them about a cyborg that destroyed the world in the future, but just then the police squad arrived, creating more intense moments in the show as Eiko got arrested. Meanwhile, in a preview we get to see what nearly happened as the whole planet were all in flame. This is as a result of the American launching their new artificial intelligence company called Skynet, and in a nanosecond, it commanded the United States nuclear arsenal and struck, which is what Malcolm had initially predicted, but somehow Kokoro find a way to stop it, at least for the meantime. Malcolm also gets informed by Kokoro that Skynet may ultimately prove to be her enemy, and now that she is online, she have access to every piece of data known to mankind. Meanwhile, the cop took Eiko to the hospital first for a treatment after being seriously injured, but upon their arrival, they found the hospital in a serious disaster, as the whole robot has gone crazy, making chaos to ensues in the town. Thousands of robots began to attack and eliminate anyone they found, while Reika went on to release Eiko. Nearby, the military are now involved as they all began destroying the robot with their heavy weapons. At the hospital, Eiko tells Reika what the Terminator plans to do is now. He will force Malcolm to reprogram Kokoro so it can obey Skynet, and by executing his plans, he will try to take Reika and her brothers hostage. Meanwhile, Misaki is in pain as she does not know what she is anymore, if she is a human or just a robot assigned to only serve Malcolm Kid. Just then, Kenta came to comfort her. He got a robotic arm he found at the scrapyard and helped fix her hand. At the tech lab, Malcolm gets to see what Kokoro has done to the outside world, and he is very disappointed by this because this is not what he wanted. Kokoro was meant to keep them safe from Skynet and not put the world in chaos. At an abandoned building, the Terminator continued to find for more information and upgrade himself into a scary being. He got out and scanned for the whereabouts of the child, where he eventually found Misaki. The human are then brought together while also listening to the speech given to them by Kokoro, telling them to comply or they all die. The episode 5 of the show then came to an end. The remaining 3 episodes would be uploaded soon, so if you enjoy recap like this, kindly subscribe for more. Thanks and goodbye.